Hello viewers, welcome to the third video about how China works. This video describes the transformation of Chinese economy. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel Wisdom of Life. Economy in the initial years of People's Republic of China. The Communist Party inherited a war-torn economy characterized by rampant poverty and acute capital and infrastructure shortage. The government decided to put in place a socialist economy and to make China a modern industrial state. The tailwinds or supporting factors included example and support of USSR, which was also a socialist economy and a superpower in the making. In addition, China's leadership and a large and disciplined workforce were other important contributing factors. China announced its first 5-year plan in 1952 and the second in 1958. These two plans laid the foundation of subsequent industrial development in the country. In addition, the leadership of China put in place communal ownership of land in villages and state ownership of land in cities. Phases of economic growth in China. The first phase was the phase of inward growth, in which China had trade with a handful of countries, particularly with the USSR. The second phase started in late 1970s with the opening up of China. China allowed foreign direct investment in 1979 with certain conditions, particularly of joint venture between foreign companies and Chinese companies. In 1980s, China became a hotspot for assembling. This was due to a variety of factors like China's huge market size, abundant and cheap labor force, and JVs, which was resulting in technology transfer to Chinese companies. During 1990s, China became world's workshop and an original equipment manufacturer. An important contributing factor was rising production cost in East Asia, particularly in Japan, which at that time was East Asia's largest economy. In the next phase, China continued to open up its economy. It joined World Trade Organization in 2001, which is one of the most significant events in contemporary economic history because it allowed China increase market access to other countries. China also began to negotiate and conclude free trade agreements and began producing higher level components. The current phase, which is called high development phase, started about 2010. This is driven by high wages in China and qualitative growth as envisioned by the Chinese leadership. Development of economic development zones have played a very important role in the growth of Chinese economy. These include, for example, free trade zones and special economic zones. Special economic zones were used as testing ground for transition from planned to market economy. Initially, 4 SEZs were set up in 1980 in 4 cities, and one common factor and decisive factor about setting up these SEZs was that all these cities had proximity to Hong Kong, which at that time was under the British rule but had a large and wealthy Chinese diaspora. So it was a very strategic decision. In 2013, first pilot free trade zone was set up in Shanghai to further test the process of liberalization. Now we come to China's development in numbers. The growth of Chinese economy has been phenomenal. In 1960, the size of China's economy was only 60 billion US dollars, but at the end of 2023, the size of economy had grown to about 18 trillion US dollar. China's share in world GDP has also increased, reaching about 17% in 2023. Average economic growth in China has been amazing. And China is one of the few countries to consistently register average economic growth of about 10% for 3 decades. In recent years, the Chinese economies has slowed down, as you can see in the graph. The reasons for economic slowdown in China will be discussed in my next video. Growth of per capita income in China has been remarkable as well. In 1960, the per capita income in China was only $90, which had surpassed 12,600 by the end of 2023. China's development has been export driven, and as you can see, the growth of Chinese export from merely $20 billion in 1982 to $3.3 trillion in 2022. China's share in global export has also increased from 1.1% in 1982 to 13.7% in 2022. At present, services is the largest sector of economy, followed by industry and manufacturing. A very notable feature of China is that manufacturing, which is part of industry, still accounts for 27% of Chinese GDP. The salient features of Chinese economy include economies of scale, market socialism, reforms on pilot basis, and role of local governments. China enjoys economies of scale like no other country does. It accounts for 17% of total world economic output and 30% of global manufacturing. That is the reason foreign companies find it difficult to compete with Chinese products, and China runs trade surplus with most of its trading partners. Market socialism is the dominant economic system in China. It is a sort of mixed economy, but in China the state played a far greater role in driving and planning economic growth and development than in any other state. Broadly speaking, the role of state in economy is fourfold, including planning, regulation, production of goods and services, and business support and facilitation. So China has its long-term development plans, 5-year development plans, and annual development plans, and has a dedicated organization called National Development Reforms Commission to steer these programs. Like provinces also have their own short-term, mid-term, and long-term development plans and their own development and reform commissions. China is a highly regulated economy with an elaborate institutional setup. The government sees no conflict between economic regulation and freedom of enterprise. Regulations aimed at ensuring socio-economic stability, consumer health and safety, labor welfare, product quality, and protecting the environment. An example of state regulation is exchange rate management in China. In China, the value of the RMB with respect to other currencies is daily set by the central bank, and market makers or banks can deviate only 2% up or down from the central parity or rate set by the central government, which ensure exchange rate stability in the country. As you can see in this slide, all the famous Western social media platforms and search engines are banned in China because the Chinese government thinks they can become an instrument of socio-economic instability in the country. A unique feature of China is that reforms are initially introduced only in a particular region or specific area. The results are evaluated and re-evaluated, and pilot reforms are amended. And then in the third stage, the reforms are extended to other regions or areas and then to entire China with necessary amendment as per local conditions. Each province and city in China has its own annual mid-term and long-term development plans. Every government sets its annual GDP target and other economic targets in China. Now we come to the 4 economic priorities of Chinese government. The first is energy security. China is the largest consumer and importer of energy because of its massive population and industry. The second is food security. China is the largest producer of grains and largest consumer and importer of food products because of its 1.41 billion plus population. Technology security is driven by 2 factors. One is the development goal. China wants to become a developed country by 2049. As second is the Western sanctions on Chinese high-tech companies, which is driving the country to become self-sufficient into high technology. As you can see in this graph, China's three top imports comprise high-tech energy and agriculture products in accordance with the areas in which it needs security. China is currently pursuing qualitative development, which includes inclusive and balanced development, innovation and technology driven development, and increased digitization. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will explain the socio-economic challenges faced by China. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Wisdom of Life. Thank you very much.